Hello and welcome to Flix and Chill with me, Luke. Today I have a very special guest on my show. She is somebody I've never met until about last 10, 20 minutes ago, and she seems like such an interesting person already. Jess
Oh,
Conto
perfect.
is here, so Jess, can you please take it and introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm probably best known on the internets and everything as being the wife of Shane. But I'm me. I have a lot of interests in ADHD, so I like a lot of stuff.
I like
You
how
might be
that's your
able to,
introduction. I have a lot of interest
yeah,
and ADHD.
yeah. I mean, I guess I could say like I'm weirdly intense. I've gotten that feedback before.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm just a big old goofy goober here. But yeah, I like movies. Obviously, I never thought of myself as a cinephile until one day
Mm-hmm.
Shane was like, he had me do my top 10. He's like, wow, you're like a well viewed, that's a good cinephile. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
And that's how I really, had the idea to invite you here because there'll be like a really it's gonna be about you, but it's gonna be only mention of Shane because I thought of well, I knew you guys watch a lot of movies together because obviously I talk to Shane a lot. And because of that, I was like, I feel like just would be fun, you know, for this show as well, because not only she's her own person, but she also watches a lot of movies. So it's not like, you know, I watch 10 movies a year, so like it's it's much more like a variety. So I'm like, okay, and you've gladly accepted. So I again thank you so much for being here. So let's get into you minus Shane. Even though I do like Shane, but this is all about you.
Good dude.
So, what makes Jess Jess?
Um, I'm gonna say a dash of childhood trauma. I so I really love movies like
Hmm.
Onward actually, which I feel like underrated Pixar film. I
Okay.
mean, it came out at a weird time,
Yeah.
but it really captured the like early childhood loss thing, and it was really like you don't see that represented a lot. I don't know if it's
Hmm.
I mean a lot of people lose their parents early, but
Hmm.
a smaller proportion of us don't remember our parents at all.
Okay.
So a little dash of that, little dash of early childhood loss. I'm pretty vocal about having ADHD and OCD,
Hmm.
and I'm coming to terms with like what that means in terms of it being a part of me. Because sometimes I struggle with that, especially with Shane. Shane does not have ADHD. Sometimes I'm like, oh, look at Mr. Neurotypical over here. But I'm thinking a lot about how like that makes me me. Like I
Yeah.
sometimes I wish I didn't because it's like, man, folding the laundry is not that hard. Just do
Mm.
it.
Hmm.
And yet I don't, or I can't. But I'm also like, yeah, I wouldn't be me. Like I have a lot of hobbies.
Hmm.
I have currently into crochet.
Okay.
So which I've done since I was like 16 or 17. I don't remember. But I crochet, knit, cross stitch, quilt, sew, by hand and by machine.
Hmm.
I do a little bit of everything. Um,
Okay. Okay.
So I really enjoyed that. I like problem solving with that too. I'm getting to the point in crochet where I can like improv stuff, which is very
Hmm.
exciting.
Hmm.
We have three cats. It's gotta be part of my personality, right? Childless cat lady.
Topical.
One of them, yeah, but it's been made that way.
Hmm.
But have we have three cats. And
Hmm.
they occupy more time than they probably should, but that's fun. And otherwise, Shane and I we play Pokemon Go, pretty fun.
Okay.
And we watch a lot of movies. Which compared to him, I never thought of myself as like a prolific movie viewer,
Hmm.
like film enthusiast. Because compared to Shane, like he
Compared to Shane,
watches so
I'm not a
many.
movie person.
I
Compared to
know that's
Shane,
why
like I'm nobody. Compared to you cannot compare yourself
no,
to your husband because that's
I know, but it took a while for me to realize that.
yeah.
Um, but I do love film.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty enthusiastic about that. And otherwise, I just pick up random hobbies. Like for a while, I was into piracy because my family used to visit North Carolina and the Outer Banks all the time. So like I had a
Okay.
pirate phase. I had a Western phase where I like really read intensely about westward expansion and like what the West was really like. And I do still like Westerns.
Hmm. Hmm.
Shane probably mentioned it. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's me. I work with kids, which is a lot
Okay.
of fun.
I have so
Um,
many questions. Like,
yeah.
so first of all, you said crocheting and stuff like that. So what was the largest thing you've crocheted, so far? Or
Oh
quilted?
boy. Oh man. Well, the quilts,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I jump in a new craft hobby, I jump in feet first, which
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend because it took me 10 years to learn how to knit because I was so frustrated I couldn't pick it up like that.
Okay.
Until one thing, someone I got knitting, I didn't get purling, and Shane and I's boss, which is where we met, Kendall was like, "Oh, purling is just knitting backwards." I'm like, "Oh my God." So then I figured it out.
Uh-huh.
The biggest thing is I'm currently working on, well, quilting. I made a full-size quilt for my mom because my mom
Nice.
always loved quilts. My
Mm-hmm.
mom and I are very close, and she's like, "Ooh, you're into quilting?
Mm-hmm.
Should get into quilting. You're sewing." I started sewing masks over COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Overcoming my deep set fear of sewing machines. That's but I made a really big quilt for my mom, and it's not my best work. She loved it, bless her heart. She
Mm-hmm.
loves it. She's like, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh God, there's puckers here, there's this over here. I didn't wash it, I didn't do this right.
Mm-hmm.
But I made that, and then I'm currently crocheting for Shane and I's second anniversary. It's the cotton anniversary, and I went way too overambitious and tried to crochet a corner to corner Lord of the Rings quilt.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, I don't have it's downstairs, but it's a lot. I blew way past the deadline of May. It's currently September, and Shane's like, "Do you think it'll be done for my birthday?" I'm like, "Sure,
Maybe.
yes."
Maybe.
Yeah, but I'm learning a lot. I mean, it was too ambitious. I never did corner to corner before. I never did a full size blanket before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not like that. So that's probably going to be the biggest thing after Shane.
And
But
when
I
you
tend to
said,
do
oh, I don't know.
anyway. I tend to do like plushies and stuff, small
I
stuff.
see. I see. That is very cool, actually. When you said piracy, for a second there, I was like, you mean internet piracy? Like you on like torrents and like torrenting movies and TV shows?
Way back in the day, um, I mean, back when we were talking about LimeWire and Kazaa and stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't permanent. I mean, I'm permanently online now, but I was permanently online as a younger
Mm-hmm.
person as well. Yeah, no, I mean like swashbuckling. They call the Outer Banks the graveyard of the Atlantic. So there's a lot of pirate wrecks, and they
Mm.
lean into that because they want your sweet, sweet tourism dollars.
Yeah.
So I just bought every book I could. I mean, I'm a geeky adult. I was a geeky kid. I just
Mm-hmm.
read about it and Captain Kidd and all that stuff. They hung out
Yeah.
in the Outer Banks because it was an easy way to hide
Okay. Okay.
and crash if you don't know what you're doing.
And you've mentioned, so you said you've been vocal about having ADHD and like
Mhm.
OCD, and you've actually, and we talked before recording that you've been officially, not just TikTok diagnosed, but actually officially diagnosed last year. So
Yep.
how did that change your life? If it did.
I mean, it was really. I know I've talked to a few of my friends because I have friends that are getting diagnosed with various psychiatric diagnoses at this point. It didn't
Hmm.
tell me anything I didn't already know,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was validating, because sometimes when I was younger, and I mentioned I was very close with my mom, but I had pretty bad OCD. I was germophobic.
Hmm.
So I used to like wash my hands till they bled. If I hugged my grandma, it got to the point where like if I hugged any of my family members, I didn't consider clean. I had to shower when I got home.
Mm.
Couldn't touch anything at a restaurant. Like it was bad. It didn't change anything that I knew, but my psychiatrist is great, and I am on medications now, which have really made it easier to control. So I think that's the biggest thing that changed. Is I used to
Hmm.
be very anti-med, and then I got to the point where I had a little mentee B and had to take some leave from work.
Hmm.
So that's really the biggest thing that happened. And I'm really lucky I got in with my psychiatrist because it's a mess to try to get in. Everybody's got wait lists.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have a service through my work that schedules appointments for you because we're all millennials and we hate to call people. They just texted me one day. We're like, hey, we got an appointment with this guy.
Hmm.
I'm like, yes. It was in like 2 days. I had 2 days notice. I'm like, yes, sweet.
Nice.
But yeah, it didn't really change anything. I forget that I have it sometimes until like, when I was leaving the house and I was just checking the lock repeatedly. My friend's like, oh, I get it. You got to make sure it's locked. And I was like, no, Kate, I have OCD. It wasn't a big deal. I just mentioned it. She was like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh man, did I not tell her that?
Yeah, yeah.
It's it really didn't change anything. Like I said, it just means that now I'm pedigreed. as papers. So
So it was mostly about the validation that you've always suspected it, but now it's, it's not just, oh, it's not just in my head. Well, it is in your head, but also it's
yep,
you're not making it up. That,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yep,
No, I get it. I get it.
exactly. Um,
Okay. So now you no longer do your hands until wash your hands until they bleed or anything like that. That's under control. That's
yes,
good.
I would not recommend what I did to get over it. My family
Mhm,
has a long history of just quitting things cold turkey. Like my grandparents smoked for about 50 years and then they
mhm.
just quit cold turkey.
Oh.
Yeah, and they never smoked again. It was wild in their 70s. They just nope, no more. Um, I would recommend consulting with a professional. I went through like my own exposure therapy where if I felt like my hands were dirty, I just like put them in my mouth, which again I wouldn't
Hmm.
recommend. But yeah, no, I used to be pretty germophobic and I'm not anymore. I was just like, no, this controlled my life
Hmm.
for too long. It
Hmm.
ruined a long-term relationship that I was in, which turned out for the better, but
Hmm.
I just decided I didn't want to let it control me anymore. And I
Damn,
just
that's
kind of, like I said, put my hands in my mouth and I didn't die from scarlet fever or whatever I thought I was going to get. So,
yeah, yeah. No,
and I work
good
with
for
kids
you.
now.
That's
Yeah,
true.
thank you.
That is true.
Yeah,
You're
I love working with kids, but they're always sticky. I'm like, why are you sticky? Why?
Yeah, like even though they have no reason to be, they somehow
Yeah.
always are.
Yeah, it's a universal like kid thing once they're I
Hmm.
would say under 5, I'm just like, oh, I mean I still love them though, obviously, but
Hmm.
yeah, I don't think you could be germophobic and work with kids.
I I was just thinking about it, like those two things, those two worlds do not match. Like because kids are notoriously not the cleanest of people because
And
they
people
are,
in general, I mean,
yes.
people in general are gross. That's one thing I learned from having OCDs.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
it's fine. We have skin for a reason. It's a barrier between us and the outside world. You know, we have immune systems.
Hmm. That
And
sure we do.
we can wash our hands.
So, what is the age range of the kids you work with?
I work with kids from my caseload is I think my youngest is 5 to
Hmm.
11.
Okay,
But we serve 3 to 11. So the
okay,
younger
that's
guys.
pretty okay. That's pretty wide range. All right.
Yeah, I feel like in special ed, that's what it tends to be. It tends to be
Mm-hmm.
like a 10-year range, just
Mm-hmm.
because the specialized schools and like the private, nonprofit, whatever schools, the special ed schools tend to have it
Mm-hmm.
grouped that way.
How did you get into that? Like, how did you decide to, like,
Oh, boy.
you woke up one day and like, you know what, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, so my mom and most of my family members and friends were surprised that I was working with kids, which I took a little bit of offense to because I'm like, I'm not one of those people that's like, I love kids. I want to, let me
Yeah.
see, bring your kids to me. I want to,
Mm-hmm.
play with them and have good times. Because some people are like, oh my God, I love babies. I was never
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that person. I never disliked kids. But one of my, so I went to college with Shane, for psychology, just general psychology, not realizing you can't really do anything with just a general psych degree.
Mm-hmm.
There was a program, they were opening the applied behavior analysis program, and the chair of the psych department was like, hey, do you want to join this? I'm like, sure, I have no other plans. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really how I got into it. People were surprised that I was working with kids, but I love it. They're a lot of fun, and I think it's just because I'm not. I have some coworkers who are super bubbly and enthusiastic, like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? Let's
Mm-hmm.
come over here." And like, that's just not my personality. But it works because my coworkers can be that way, and I can be like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" I didn't realize how much I say "What's up, man?" until one of my kids started repeating it to me, and I was like, "I do say that a lot, don't I?" And they started like imitating my eyebrows. So I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" So they'll humble you quick. Children, you can't take it
Oh,
personal.
oh, they
But
do. They have no filter, especially that kind of age range you mentioned, like
yeah,
5 to 11 or 3 to 11. Those
yeah.
are the like rawest of the road, like people. They still have like little to no filter. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to know whether you are, I don't know, beautiful or maybe slightly overweight or maybe slightly too skinny, just
Oh yeah.
walk into pass by some children and they'll let you know like quickly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 1000%. I had a kid. Shane and I were together before, broke up for a little bit, got back together. During the first breakup, I was still a teaching assistant in a classroom, and I came in. and I knew I didn't look good. One of the kids that looked at me and was like, "Miss Jess, you look like shit," and I was like, "I do,
Damn.
buddy, I do." And one of the other kids was like, "Ooh, what happened?" I was like, "Went through a breakup, man." And he was just like, "Ooh, awkward." I said, "Yep." So they'll humble you.
You know what I
Very good.
appreciate? You talk to kids like you talk to adults, like, oh, I
Yeah.
just you just had a breakup, man.
Yeah, I that's my mom. My mom will say like kids have always liked me, which I always attribute it to being tall. I'm 5'10".
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fairly tall for a woman, like super tall. But I mean, I look like an ogre in my class pictures. I'm huge compared to the other kids. My mom, I always figured it was just like, oh, they follow the tallest one, like jail
Uh-huh.
rules. You go with
Yeah.
the biggest person. Um, but that's the one thing that I've heard from a lot of people's feedback I get is that I don't infantilize kids, and
I feel
and
like
I meet them
many
on their level.
Yeah, I feel like many kids I do appreciate that because, like, especially nowadays, well, look, I don't chill with many kids, I'll say that, but I feel like even like my sister has two kids, 8 and 5, 6. I always forget the other one's age. But yeah, I feel like sometimes they appreciate me for not talking to them like they were kids, and they're actually
Yeah.
trying to engage with them. And my sister's always like, they are kids, they don't know that, and I'm like. No, but I'm just giving them the chance and talking to them like as they, like I'm not asking them for, some tough questions. I just actually treat them as my equal. And I feel
Hmm.
like, and I remember when I was a kid, and yes, it's been a minute, but it's not that long ago. And I remember like understanding and remembering which adult treated me like a kid and which adult treated me like, oh yeah, they're kind of cool. They're quite cool people. I'm like, yeah, I always appreciated that, to be honest.
Yeah, my mom was that way.
Hmm.
She and I are similar in many ways, as Shane lovingly points.
Oh.
I love my mom, I do.
Hmm.
But she kind of raised me that way. Like she never baby talked to me.
Yeah.
My dad died when I was 4 and she was never like, "Oh, he's sleeping, he's in heaven." I mean, she
Hmm.
wasn't mean,
Yeah.
but she was just kind of like, "Nope, he's dead. He's not sleeping. He's not coming back." And like she let me go to the viewing and everything to see him because she was like, she needs to understand this. Yeah, she's 4 and she didn't harp on it, but she let me lead a lot of the things. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
so I tend to be that way with kids. Like I don't ask them a lot of questions. I don't make them talk to me. It's just kind of like, oh cool, we're playing superheroes. Let me come in. Oh man, like
Hmm.
kids love to tell you like correct you things. I'm like, oh man, is this Wolverine? And it's like obviously Iron Man. The kid's like, it's Iron Man, Tony Stark. So like they love that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of treat them like cats. Like you gotta let them come to you,
Hmm. Hmm.
and show interest. Like I don't, I'm fine if a kid doesn't come up to me. Fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not.
Same as a cat. Same as a cat. If they
Yeah.
don't come after you, fine. Just let them
Yep.
have their space.
Yep. They're not like a zoo exhibit for me to go stare at. And yeah,
True.
no, just. But yeah, I do love my work. And I love to work with the kids that I work
Okay.
with. And yeah, and my friends are having kids at this point too. So they're starting to have little personalities, which is very fun.
Yeah, I always feel weird because we are the same age, and
Yeah.
my friends also either have already had one or two kids, or are
Mm.
about to have kid, or two, or a second one, or a third
Yep.
one. And it's like, so the question always pops up from my relatives, oh,
Yeah.
where is your kid? Or two, or five, and I'm like, okay, okay, slow the fuck down. All right, like,
Mhm.
let's think about it. Like in this economy, really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, I
Like,
know. I'm lucky that my friends and my mom, so my mom when she got pregnant with me was kind of ambivalent to kids because
mhm.
she's like, I guess, like let's see what happens. And then she was pregnant, she's like, oh God, now I gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, but I have friends who dealt with infertility and stuff like that. So I'm lucky that I have a group of folks around me that don't insist on that because they don't know what they're dealing with. Like you
Yep.
don't know what anyone's dealing with. It's none of your business. Some
Mhm.
people do that, but like now that it's established that I don't hate kids.
I don't think,
Um,
and I don't think that was ever any question, by the way. Like, I don't
oh,
think.
it's come up before in my life. I'm like, just because I see a kid, I'm like, oh, they're cute. I'm not like, it's a
Yeah.
baby, cute, cute. I'm like, I'm just
No,
not
you
like
were
that
like,
with anything.
no, you were like, what's up, man?
Yeah, exactly. I do that. And like with my one of my best friend's sons about to turn 1, and like even now I'm just like, "What's up, dude? Pound it." Um, like, he's
You
still a baby baby, but
you know what this reminds me of, and I really hope you're not gonna get like offended or anything, but that just reminds me of scene of from like an Adam Sandler movie, like Billy Madison. It's just like, "What's up,
yeah,
dude?" And just
yeah, no, that's what I'm going for.
that's just so
Yeah,
funny. Like I can
I am who
imagine,
I am.
like I imagine, like see, I don't even know whether this is true, right? Because I never seen you work, but I just imagine you coming to the work Monday morning. It's like a class of children, and you're like, "What's up, dude?"
Yeah, I basically do that. I see kids in the hall. I'm like, "Hey, man, how's it
Oh.
going?"
But that's
Yeah.
actually quite adorable. I do like that though because again, like I as a kid, I still remember who treated me as their
Hmm.
equal and who were like, okay, that's a bit too much. Even as a kid, I was like, okay, that's a bit too much. Like, but obviously you don't talk back because I was actually raised properly, so I didn't really talk back because obviously
Hmm.
no, 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 no. In
Yeah.
I know in America and even in the UK where I live now, it's children are not to be harmed or anything. In most of Europe, oh no, oh wooden spoon or a shoe,
Yeah, it's traditional.
it's come it has come out every once in a while. Yeah, when I was misbehaving, and most of the time I think I deserved it. Sometimes maybe not, but hey, that's for another time.
Yeah, I was a very mild kid. I don't know if it was again, the early childhood loss thing, if it's just my
Mhm,
personality. I
mhm,
was never, I mean, there was one time that um, I was being a brat because I
mhm,
was spoiled, only child. I have no cousins either, so it's just me. Um, and my uncle just very gently held my hand because I was hitting him. And
mhm.
he very gently held my hands and said, "We don't do that." And that's like the only time I remember really getting. And one time I ran in the street, but really, I didn't do a whole lot that
Yeah,
engendered punishment,
I
to be
see.
honest.
And you
Yeah.
mentioned, I want to touch on one more thing you've mentioned. You're into like astrology. So, and I am not. So to me, that's a whole new world. So what, I guess, or like when did that start? And why did it start? Like, what I was trying to say, why?
Good question. I think part of being a girl is being into
Mhm,
like those things. I don't remember when it started for me. I always
mhm.
knew like, I'm an Aquarius. Excuse me, I happen to be a pretty stereotypical one, to be honest. If you
Okay, okay,
read those lists, I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. One of my best friend Paige is very into astrology.
okay.
And I think part of it is I learned that it was like a foot in the door with a lot of people. It's kind of a neutral thing to talk to people about. Like when I was at a work dinner, I was talking to everybody about, I'm like, oh, what's your sign? I have that memorized. Um, really, honestly, it's just fun because like any astrology description, you could pick out pieces that are like you.
Mm-hmm,
It's like, oh
mm-hmm,
yeah, I relate to this, maybe not this so much. Like Shane is a Scorpio, not a great Scorpio. In a lot of ways, they're supposed to be like secretive and intense and vengeful stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
He's not really. I mean, he can be intense, but if you look deep into anybody's birth chart, you're gonna find stuff that makes sense for them.
Yeah,
It's just how
yeah.
astrology works. But I've always been interested in learning stuff. So like, I have always been interested in like ghosts and cryptids and things like that. And I feel like astrology tends to go with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
those like spiritual
So
practices and
so you believe in it, but not to like any overdrive or like a crazy degree, like where like every decision you
yeah.
make, you consult your like a chart or
No, I don't do
okay,
that. So the thing with tarot and stuff like that is there's the principle of as above, so below. So when I would do like a tarot draw or ask my friend to do a tarot draw for me, it's more about reflecting like the things that I see in the cards, let's dissect that. So it's more like a Rorschach test sort of, where it's what do
yeah,
you see and what could that mean? So it's more of a tool for introspection than it is like divination.
okay,
Um, so that's how I've used it. And also tarot decks are very pretty. So I have a few themed. I have like a bug one and a
hmm.
flower one and a mushroom one. So that's fun.
So
But
how
yeah,
often do you
it's
do
a
it?
fun part. I don't really do it that much.
Okay,
No, I mean, I'll talk to Paige about it and stuff like that, but I don't do
Hmm.
it a whole. It's not a regular practice for me.
So
But I
it's
think
not
it's
like
interesting.
it's not like every once in a while you crack open a, I don't know, bottle of wine and like, okay, let's do some tarot reading.
No,
Okay.
no. I do think it's interesting though.
Hmm.
And I'm also interested in people's reactions to it. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like I said, a gateway for me to kind of get to know somebody.
Yeah,
Because if you can say like, "Oh, I'm a Leo," it's like, okay,
I
let's
am
delve into
actually.
that.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, let's delve into that. Leos tend to be very gregarious and outspoken and things like that. So like, let's delve into that and how much somebody associates with their sign kind of tell me a little bit about their personality.
Okay.
So, and people like
Mm.
talking about themselves, so it's a good rapport builder.
That's yeah, that's kind of what this podcast is about, for people to talk about themselves. So that's a great thing. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's what I use it for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
also again a shortcut. If I say I'm a stereotypical Aquarius, what does that what does that tell you about me? If you know anything about astrology, it'll tell you a lot.
So have you made friends because of that? When you would say, "Oh, I'm, stereotypical this and so," and somebody's like, "Oh, girl, I'm this and this," and then you bonded over astrology.
I have not any of my good friends.
Okay,
They
okay.
are coincidentally most of them are air signs or water signs, which is funny. But not like a deep friendship. But I've built rapport with it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Libras supposed to be a big thing with Libras.
I
So
wouldn't know, to be honest, but
it's okay.
I'll believe your opinion because obviously you've done more reading about it than I did. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I don't base a whole lot on it, but I do think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's just so fascinating. That's again like astrology to me, like kind of like I have it connected with people who are a bit out there. But
Hmm.
when when you're talking about it, I'm like, that actually kind of makes sense that the way you are using it to get to know others, and in a way where it almost like like you're looking for some sort of connection, and then even if they are not into it, and you already have something to work with. So it's almost like
Yeah,
a litmus test, almost.
yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly. I'm good. I'm pretty good at that too. Making
Okay.
connections with people, and like I said, I find myself in very intense conversations with people. I don't know. It's probably me. I'm sure it's me. But
Hmm.
when kids ask me questions, a lot of it is like the deep questions. Like the one kid, first time meeting him, he was like, "Will I die someday?"
Oh yeah, those
And
deaf
internally, I'm
questions.
like, "Yeah." But yeah, no,
Hmm.
it is a good way to get to know somebody, and I
Hmm.
pride myself in trying to find a connection with anyone. I mean, Shane will tell you I talk to strangers all the time. Um,
Yeah.
anyone, anywhere, I get
Yeah.
in conversations with, which is good sometimes. Sometimes we are trying to get somewhere.
Hmm.
Um,
So what
but my
did you
whole
answer
family's
to
like,
the kid?
oh, I said, yeah. I was like, yeah, you're gonna die someday.
What
Everyone
was
does.
what was his or her reaction?
He was like, "Are you gonna die someday?" And I said, "Yeah, man, probably before you." And then we popped some bubble wrap, which probably
I
doesn't
said,
surprise you, having dealt with kids. Yeah,
as it happens. Yeah, sensible.
yeah. It's only as weird as you make it,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Kids are just getting to know the world, so yeah, I answer honestly. And
Mm-hmm.
when I've had a few kids ask me about death, I try to stay away from like the more abstract things like heaven and things like that and just keep it to the facts. Like, yep, you're gonna die. Yep, I'm older than you, so I'm probably gonna die first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep, grandma died. Part of life.
I still remember my first realization of mortality, yeah. And I don't know why I thought, because my favorite number for any reason, I don't know, and you might tell me, is 19. Like I've always had a thing about number 19, right? And I went to my granddad at the time, and I was like, how many times do we like die and then get reborn? Is it 19 times? Because for some reason I just joined it
Yeah,
together, right? And he laughed at me, kind of, and he said, "No, once you're dead, you're dead." Again, like this typical like Czech nature, we are straight to the point. And I was like,
yeah,
"Okay," and I was like, not sad, but I was like, "Damn, that's like
yeah.
it hits
It's
you hard." And I think I was like 6, 7, because I still remember
yeah,
the
that
conversation, and I was like,
tracks.
"Damn, yeah, that's that's deep." And I didn't
Yep.
know what to do with that information that day, really.
Yeah, I mean, kids are like that. They deal with stuff, honestly. Like You know, they just it's matter of fact for them. It's concrete.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until you get to a certain age and you can, have an existential crisis. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's very like them.
Okay.
Which I
Well,
guess is why
mhm.
at work if someone's grandma dies or whatever, they're like, "All right, Jess, you want to do a social story for this?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll be that person. Why not?"
Just
Yeah,
the one who talks about death all the time. Then
yeah.
you're gonna have the.
I'm I'm the one that you know I handle things delicately, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'm one who has to have hard conversations. And part of it is an experience thing. I've been in the
Yeah.
field for 10 years now, but
Hmm.
part of it is definitely like, I can be unattached and unemotional
Hmm.
sometimes. I mean,
And
later I'll cry about it in the shower, but at the
hmm
time.
yeah, not in front of the kids because yeah, the kids need to feel they're safe.
And they'll pick up on that. I mean, if you get really intense and emotional about it, like they're gonna pick up on that.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
anyone,
Yeah.
really.
I do wonder what you're gonna answer because obviously I've talked to Shane about this, so I wonder what you're gonna tell me. So if I were to ask you, Jess, you're based because I know you guys are based in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So if I were to ask you, I'm coming there for a week, what would you tell me? Oh, we need to go and see this, we need to go and eat there. What would you recommend for
Mhm.
like a week's vacation?
I would recommend doing some time down at the Jersey Shore. Honestly, I think that it is
Ah.
I've traveled a lot in my day. I
Hmm.
think that the shore is, especially the boardwalks, are a
Hmm.
unique place. Like, there's no place in the world quite like them.
Okay.
So I'd recommend taking some time in the shore. I'd also recommend taking some time in the Pine Barrens. A lot of people have heard of the Jersey Devil, but I think being in the Pine Barrens. Have you heard of Jersey? No.
I don't think I
Oh,
heard of
he's a
Jersey
cryptid.
Devil. Please enlighten me.
Ah, boy.
Oh.
There's a lot. So Astonishing Legends has a great podcast about the origins of him and everything.
Okay.
Story that's usually told is that there was a woman named Mother Leeds down in the Pine Barrens who was having her 13th child, and she was tired of having kids, and she said, "Let this child be a devil." And when the child was born, it was a demon basically.
Okay.
And he like did his like meh and flew around and flew up the chimney, and now he lives in the Pine Barrens. That's the short version of the story.
Wait, so he came out as a devil, or did she burn
Yeah.
him? Oh, okay, okay, okay.
No, he was a devil. She was like, "Let this child be a devil," and he came out, and he was like, "Hey, I am," and like screeched and messed up the house and flew out the chimney.
And ever since
There's
then,
different
he's like in
versions.
those woods.
Yeah, he just kind of, is
Okay.
around. So the Jersey Devil, I'm gonna try to describe him. Usually described as head of a horse,
Mm-hmm.
cloven hooves. So he's bipedal. He's
Okay.
got cloven hooves. He's got like a snake tail, and bat wings. So
Wow.
yeah. Um, so he flies around and shrieks and does little cryptid, devilly demon things.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's like a fucked up Pegasus. Okay, I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah, yeah. Like a evil Pegasus.
Okay.
So he's like
Yeah.
goes on people's roofs, and the Pine Barrens are ecologically unique. My
Mm.
mom's very into like that. She volunteers at like refuges and stuff around the state. We have a lot of marshlands. We have a very diverse area in terms of people and
Yeah, yeah,
ecology.
yeah.
But yeah, I would recommend being in the Pine Barrens because when there's a lot of stuff you ever want to read about the Jersey Devil. I think being there I mean, it's desolate. It's in the middle of the most densely populated state in the Union. Um,
Okay.
so that's Jersey. That's South Jersey. I'm from South Jersey, so I'm a little biased towards that. But we have other places too. Like there's a place where you can wade in a river and dig for dinosaur fossils. I'd
Oh,
recommend that. North Jersey, go to a North Jersey boardwalk, like Seaside, as opposed to Ocean City or Wildwood. Those are different places. We're also in between Philadelphia and New York City. So you can microdose the two types of Italians we have. You can go there. The other stuff, honestly, in terms of food, I recommend you just order a pork roll, egg, and cheese sandwich bagel. Pork roll, egg,
okay.
and cheese on a bagel. That's like the most quintessential Jersey.
Any specific place?
No, honestly, try to find a small mom and pop diner. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
diners are an institution in Jersey, but small mom and pop breakfast place. We have this one place. I forget what I think it's just called like Pa's Sandwiches or something. Pa's Deli near here that makes an excellent one. So just find a random tiny place. It's from like not
Okay.
even a big list. And cheesesteaks from Philly as well. There's a bunch of different cheesesteak places, not Pattergino's, but somewhere else. We
Yeah.
have donkeys around here. I hear it's good. I don't eat meat anymore, so
Oh, so you just
um,
vegetarian?
pescatarian. Yeah,
Oh,
I do
pescat.
eat fish and seafood. Yeah,
So fish, yeah. So fish and seafood. Okay. Why?
yeah,
Can I
pescat.
ask why pescatarian and not like fully veggie?
Mhm. I had a lot of health problems when I was younger. I
Okay.
had like I have a scar. You probably can't see it, but I had a scar where I had one of my parathyroids removed. But basically, I had a bunch of health issues, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't do moderation well. I'm kind of all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was eating way too much meat. And now I'm at the point where I don't really miss it. So I guess health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the thing I do now. It's kind of a habit. But I eat fish just to get a little bit more nutrition so that
Yeah, like
I'm
vitamins.
not like sickly
Mm-hmm.
and sad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I
What?
know you can get that on a vegetarian or vegan diet, but I'm very lazy. So and cooking for Shane and I, like Shane's not a pescatarian, but he does eat fish and stuff
Yeah.
like I mean he eats everything, but it's just easier to make like two salmon fillets as opposed to like a whole separate meal for both of us.
Yeah. I was gonna ask. So, what's your favorite fish to go to? Like, to have? Is it salmon?
Yes. I love the salmon skin that they have. Like, yeah, I love a good
Oh,
salmon skin, like the dried crispy bits.
same.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's great, right? I also love bonito flakes from, I get them from Japan or whatever. They're cheap to
Okay.
mail over here. I love bonito flakes on stuff. They're just
Mm.
they're amazing.
I see you, woman of culture. I like it. Okay.
I'm
So.
very epicurious. I love food from other. I was just talking about this yesterday with a friend of ours who's Italian and Lebanese.
Mm-hmm.
I found a recipe online from Lebanon, and I couldn't remember the name of it, and I still can't remember the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love. That's another thing you can bond with people over is food. So
Yeah.
I'm very epicurious. I like a lot of different foods. I'm willing to try things at least once.
That's exactly what I always say to my girlfriend because like
Mhm.
we just been on a holiday and for the first time ever I tried escargot, aka snails, and then they were in like a blue cheese sauce. It was
Mhm.
delicious, and I
Yum.
thought they are kind of like a mushroom, like in a sense where if you I don't know, have you ever had snails?
I haven't, but
Mm,
I have heard. My aunt had several French pen pals, so she went over there and also hosted her
hmm.
French families here as well. So she had told me a little bit.
See, like, and I don't know, maybe my taste buds are just totally fucked up or anything. But like, I said to my girlfriend because she wouldn't try it. She's not as adventurous, and I'm like, if I were to like blindfold you and tell you this is a mushroom, you would believe me because there's like literally no difference. There's like like slightly like maybe almost like meatier mushrooms, like a denser mushroom,
Mhm.
but it's like it doesn't
Forage,
have
actually, so I
any.
get what you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like, exactly. So and there was a delicious, and again the blue cheese sauce also very nice.
Mm.
So like, no, I definitely would have it again.
Yeah, I've heard that it tastes like whatever you cook it in, it just absorbs the
Yeah,
flavor.
yeah, it doesn't have any like distinct or like taste or even aftertaste. Like sometimes you have something and then it like hits you after, and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
that's either not pleasant or no nice or very pleasant. And that's this one is just no, it just kind of is or exists, and I'm like, okay, I can dig it.
yeah, I would try it. I mean, if I can ever get back to France, I'd definitely try it.
See, it wasn't actually in France, which is the funny bit. It wasn't.
Ah,
It wasn't in France. No, it was so funny. It's just like a random. But no, yeah. But they just had it on the menu. I'm like,
absolutely.
okay,
Yeah, why not?
exactly.
Yeah, that's one of the things about this area too, is we have a lot of different cuisines that we can try, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't realize until I started traveling to other states that I was like, not a
Hmm.
whole lot here. It's kind of meat and potatoes.
See, what about you? And before we go any further, what about you and traveling? Because I know Shane calls himself the Hobbit, where he would love to stay
Beautiful.
home and he doesn't do traveling and like or but what about you and traveling?
I traveled extensively when I was younger.
Okay.
So I have been to Europe, Australia, Japan. I
Mm.
have been to a lot of different states, but not, I haven't gone to the States as much as I went abroad.
Hmm.
The only place I've been to twice was Ireland, which I still love and would
Nice.
go back again. I have been to
Nice.
Scotland. We spent one day in Edinburgh, which was not enough, but the whole trip was kind of a disaster. That's a story for another time. But
I see.
um, no, my mom traveled a lot when she was younger too. She went to London and France and everything.
Hmm.
And for me, Australia, my maternal grandfather had served in the Pacific during World War II,
Okay.
and he spoke very fondly. I never met him, but he spoke fondly to my mom about Australia, so that was on the bucket list just because I wanted to see, what's the hype about. But I like going to, similar to getting to know different people. I like going to different places and seeing different
Hmm.
things. I love Maine, which I feel like a lot of people love Maine.
Okay.
Um, and I did love the UK when I went there in Ireland. It's just it's nice getting to know different people and being gregarious. I was at one point fluent in French. I'm not really anymore,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is sad.
Yeah, that.
But yeah, I miss traveling, but it's so expensive now, and I don't have the PTO really. It's
Yeah, like,
exhausting.
well, yeah, you Americans are kind of like a double fucked because, like,
Yeah,
A, it's expensive, and B, many jobs don't really give you much time off, if any, especially like
yeah,
paid.
yeah.
Like, and I'm like, what? Like,
It's
that's
because
bizarre.
we would rather have money in general than time off.
Mm,
They did a survey I remember reading about when I was in undergrad about surveying Europeans versus Americans about would you rather have more time off or more money? And a lot of Americans would say money, but I'd be curious now post COVID because I know a lot of
I was gonna
people have
ask
changed it.
when did they do the survey? Because I know like it's starting to shift with younger
Hmm.
people, and
Yep.
especially like again like yeah, I don't know about post-COVID, but like because of the internet, suddenly
Yeah.
like everybody in America can see, oh, so we can have 4 weeks paid vacation, and
Mhm.
the economy will not go to fuck. Ah, interesting, interesting.
Yeah, I think COVID really changed a lot because it was like, I
Because that
saw
was the
somebody say,
American
okay,
dream, doesn't it? That was American
yeah,
kind of like you don't take any holiday, maximum like 1 week or 1 week a year, and then like you
the
travel and you do everything
yeah,
once you retire, right? Like you save money, and then you're
yeah,
the happy retiree who's like traveling to Europe and all that.
yeah, no, it's shifted, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of nice. But it's also a little nihilistic, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, oh, this will be, it's fun, I should do it for today. It's more like I might die tomorrow, so I should do this. I think I'm
I
getting a little more doomsday scenario.
Yeah. See, you say nihilistic, I say pragmatic.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I think being an American 2024, it's hard not to be a little pessimistic about stuff. I'm trying not to really hard.
Why? What's going on up there? Like I don't know.
But it's, I say to Shane, like the art of compromise, I feel like it's dead. Um,
Mm,
and I
it's
think that's part of the reason why I'm a good diplomat is because I can compromise.
I
I'm not
see.
always good at it being an only child, but yeah, it's hard to keep going. Sometimes, honestly, meds are doing a heavy lifting here for me, but yeah, I think that's part of it. Is it's just like, oh, we might not ever get to retire, so we might as well do this now.
Hmm.
I think that's the shift too.
So,
But I do
out of
miss
all the
traveling.
places you've been to, just yourself, right? What was your
Mhm.
favorite?
Japan. I love
Ah,
Japan. They don't even say weeaboo anymore. It was a
hmm.
pejorative term when I was younger. Ja- Kids these days will never suffer like I suffered.
Yes.
But no, yeah, no, everybody gets fine to like anime. But I love Japan. My favorite places that I've been are the places that are different to where I grew up. And Japan was, I mean, Russia was different, but not in a good way.
Oh yeah.
Um, I mean, it was a beautiful country and the people were friendly once you get past the fact that they're all very stern looking, but that's a cultural thing. Anyway,
Yes.
I'm sure you know better than I do, that Americans are very loud and
Hmm.
gregarious. But I loved Japan. It was very different from where I was. We went to an onsen, which was really cool. It was neat to be there. Like everything was so different from where I grew up that I just was fascinated by it.
Where did you go exactly in Japan? Tokyo?
We started in Osaka,
Okay.
and then we kind of traveled up to Tokyo. We ended in Tokyo. So
Nice.
east coast of Japan, yeah. And we did Kyoto. We went to Hiroshima. I stayed with the family for a few days. They were great. And then we ended in Tokyo. We did get to go to Harajuku, which was very exciting for me. But I found that I liked. We stopped in can't remember. It's famous for green tea, and we looked at like green tea and how they
Hmm.
harvest it, and how it's stored. We went to a traditional tea ceremony. Kikugawa, that's where it was. I really liked that. I liked the rural-ish places. That it was just great. And now when I like watch Miyazaki movies, especially like My Neighbor Totoro. Not my favorite Miyazaki movie. I do love it. But I'm
But
just
it's
like, oh
great.
man,
It is so
I
cool.
would love to go back there. I would just love for like 2 weeks just to go and have a.
That was my next question. Would you, so it seems like you would love to go back to Japan.
Mhm. Yep,
Yes.
I would love to just sit in the countryside. There's a game on I don't know, I have the iPad that's called Japan Rural Life, I think is what it's called, and I'm just
Okay.
like, wow, this is such escapism for me. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to go repair these rocks over here. It's just
Nice.
beautiful.
No, like that's definitely one like my top three destinations. I've never been to Japan. Like I've
Mhm,
only recently been to Asia. So like I've been to Singapore because of my work for like 2 weeks. That was very new, very nice. I loved Singapore. I would love to go to Japan. Like,
mhm.
but yeah, it's one of those destinations you don't want to go just for like a week. You definitely want at
Yeah,
least like 2 or 3 weeks because there's so much to see.
yeah, I was there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long time.
Damn, that's I'm envious. Like,
Yeah.
good for you.
Yeah, I was a teenager at the time too.
Hmm.
So, that's when I had my mom's money to go on.
Yeah,
Shout out to
yeah.
Susan for giving me money to go and supporting me.
Hmm. Well, yeah, and
Um,
you mentioned Miyazaki. Which one is your favorite then?
Spirited Away. It was
Oh,
the first one I saw in theaters. I mean, I had seen like Princess Mononoke, which,
hmm,
in tradition became a big part of my personality for a couple of years. But I saw Spirited Away in theaters, and it was just so magical. And every time I watch it, I'm just transported back to being younger and watching it, being mesmerized by it on the screen. So,
nice.
but I do. I mean, I am enthusiastic about all the not necessarily Miyazaki, but Ghibli films as
Yeah.
well.
Have you seen the latest one, The Boy and the Heron?
I did. I thought it was great.
Me too.
I it was one of those things where I loved it. I do think some things didn't translate because Shane and I discussed. I'm like, ooh, he just kind of married the aunt. A little, I don't know, like modern day. You're like, ooh, if Shane died and I married his brother, I wouldn't. But like,
Hmm.
it would kind of be weird. But or like even the beginning, I thought it was beautiful. I do love those films. But
Hmm.
sometimes it's stuff like, yeah, maybe not meant for an American audience, but it doesn't have to be. It's just,
Yeah.
I wonder how other people will react to it. Um,
It took me a while to get into those movies, so that's why I need to rewatch Spirited Away because that was one of the first ones I saw as well.
yeah,
However, I don't feel like I was so confused by how unconventional it was. I
yeah.
just didn't enjoy it. Or I thought it was fine, and I now know like it's the probably highest rated one out of like, for Hayao Miyazaki. So I'm like, I need to rewatch it. So like I definitely want to rewatch it at some point to see what I've missed because I know I've missed a lot.
Mhm.
It's just, yeah,
Yeah, I think
Totoro. Yeah, just
having those backgrounds helps.
mm-hmm,
Or like
mm-hmm.
knowing certain
Yeah.
like French movies. I spent a lot of time learning French. I mean, in America we don't really learn second languages, which I think is a huge disservice.
Mm-hmm,
But my French teacher in high school made sure we went over like the different stuff in French, and like we read stuff in the original language, that she would explain, this is what this means, this is the
mm-hmm.
French sensibilities and the sense of humor, like this is more of a thing. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe Titan is still a little inaccessible for me, but
You watched that movie? Have you seen it?
yeah, yep.
That's a movie, all right.
It's one of the movies of all time, yeah.
It is.
Um, yep. I'm trying to think of the other movies that I watched. I'm like, this is aggressively French. Like
Have
Amelie.
Have you seen from the same director? Have you seen her first movie, Raw?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I love that movie. Like Titan is like a bit out there, but I still loved it. But no, like Raw is genuinely like it took me by surprise. If you're fine with cannibalism, I would put it on.
Yeah, Shane has it. I'm pretty sure he has it. I'm sitting in front of his
It's a movie. Obviously,
collection.
Shane has it. Like, I suspect Shane owns every single movie that's ever been printed and probably watched it twice. Like, it's when it comes to movie related, like, I feel like Shane has it. Yes.
Yeah, if it's worthy of having, here it is.
Yes, that's the one. That's the Blu-ray. I
Um,
think that's the same Blu-ray I have because that movie, I remember watching it and I was like, damn, this is fascinating. This is fun. And then the end happens and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't
yeah,
expect that.
I'm open to it. I'm like food. I'm open to trying anything once.
I think,
But I do
look,
really like the French movies like
mhm.
Deerskin and Fly and all that.
Oh,
I love them. They're so weird. I love
yeah.
them.
No, I don't think Raw is as out there as Titan is. So I think it's
Yeah,
more like
Titan's pretty.
grounded. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm willing to watch it.
But it's just, yeah, it's about the base gist of it is there's this girl who enrolls in college, I want to say, or like a university, right? And discovers by accident that she enjoys human meat, right? So then it's kind of intertwined with like, growing up and like in discovering her yourself. And
Kind of
again,
for.
and the movie is brilliant even before the ending. And then something happens at the end, and I'm like, oh. And where like American movie would go the next 20 minutes, that movie just ends. And I'm like, love it. Five out
I
of
love
five.
that
No
though.
questions. Just no
Yeah, I'm
questions.
a big. I love like either hard endings where it's like a hard cut, or I love ambiguous endings. I know my best friend Paige hates them. She hates the ambiguity.
Mhm.
But I like it. I'm just like, haha, yeah.
I feel like as long as you earn it, as long as that movie like earns it and
Oh
knows
yeah,
what it wants to say, like look, yeah, like American Werewolf in Paris is one of those that like it just ends, and I love
yeah.
it like it just ends. Like
The
yes,
Sopranos
yeah,
comes to mind. They
yeah.
earned it. The
That's
hard
that.
cut.
So I was gonna say talk about a hard cut. Yes, that's one
Yeah,
of the
it's
hardest
the
that's ever
hard
been
cut. Yeah,
to the point
yeah,
where people called to their provider
yeah,
whether there was some sort of power cut or something.
yeah. I know, and it's an in joke too. I know they reference that in BoJack Horseman.
Or like a Family Guy. This is not
Yeah,
Sopranos. He cannot just cut in the middle of and cut.
deal with it. Yeah, I know. People like ambiguity, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
Sit with it. Feel uncomfortable about it.
exactly. Well, with that, I think we can move to the this or that game where I'll give you two options and you tell me which one would you prefer and why.
Okay.
So, Jess, iOS or Android?
I have iOS.
Okay.
I'm one of those people. I'm just invested in it.
hmm
But I have Android as well. I think each has their purpose. For every day, iOS is pretty intuitive to me, but for like customizability and app development, I think Android. So it depends.
Exactly.
In between.
Yeah. No. Pretty much. Pretty much. So, but you have iPhone.
I do. I
Fair.
have iPhone, iPad. I have an Apple Watch that's not charged. Um, they do a great job marketing and making sure it's seamless to integrate with all of it, but kind of a pain in the ass to
It's so
go across platforms.
Exactly. It's so funny because like that's exactly like my girlfriend. I'm Android and she is all in on iOS on Apple because
Mhm.
she
It's
exactly as
easier.
you. She has iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch. She
Yep.
has Apple headphones, like
Yeah, the
all the Apple stuff, and
yep.
they do integrate very well with each other. But yeah, the moment you want to step outside of that bubble, it's just,
Yeah.
ooh, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's not good for customizability unless you're
No.
like very tech savvy and jailbreak it. But
Or well, yeah, or now, every new update, they introduce something. I always love this. Like Apple introduces something that's been on Android for the last six
yep.
years, and like brand new feature. You
Yeah.
can do this, and everybody on Apple, yay! And everybody on Android, welcome to 2013. How can we help?
Yeah, like I really love the USB, what is it, the USB-C
Yep.
port. I love that flexibility now because now I'm like, this is great. All the stuff is on the same cord. Love
And
that.
you know why they did it.
Yeah, the EU put the regulations in and they were like, yeah,
Exactly. They
it's
would have
about
been
money.
banned. They would have been banned from selling it in the EU. So like they literally had to
Oh,
be
yeah.
forced to do
Mhm.
it. And then like we have, and it's one of the selling points in the latest one. Oh, it's a USB. Oh, everything is USB-C now. It's all great.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you cheeky cunts. Honestly,
I know,
like
I
I like
know.
they're just like smart, but also cheeky.
Yeah, I mean it's capitalism. They don't do it until they have
Well,
to, until it's worth it to do. How
well,
it
they
is.
were the first ever $1 trillion company, didn't it? Like
Mhm.
shortly followed by Amazon after. But they
Mhm.
were the first of ever in the history of mankind. $1 trillion.
Yeah, I know, and every new feature they come out with, like you said, I just know it's because they want to retain customers or get new
Yeah.
customers. Like I'm not under any,
hmm
assumptions it's for the betterment of their customers or whatever. No, I know
Yep.
it's. But yeah,
Get it.
I tend to iOS
Fair, fair. TV shows or movies?
movies. I don't know what it is about TV shows. I tend to rewatch the same ones. It's like comfort food to me. So I watch like Unsolved Mysteries. Love that.
I
Um,
was just gonna ask, so what's your comfort TV shows you like to rewatch? Unsolved
uns-
Mystery.
yeah, unsolved mysteries for sure. But movies, I just watch more movies. It's really just simple as that.
Fair. Tea or coffee?
Ooh, depends.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee gets me up in the morning, but I love a good quality tea or coffee. I have
Mm-hmm.
many varieties of tea,
Mm-hmm.
and I have an electric kettle, which, as an American, was a real fancy upgrade for me.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, we don't really have electric kettles a lot, but now we do. So I do have a lot of varieties of tea. So it depends on my mood. Depends on if I'm serving people, because I have instant coffee. It's like it's sacrilege. I know it's sacrilege, but I wake up as late as I can to get out the door on time. So I have
Mm-hmm.
coffee concentrate that I just kind of adulterate with a lot of cream and
Okay, okay.
milk. Yes, but
And if you're out and about, what would be your coffee? Let's say you're out and about and then you would want a hit of coffee. What's your coffee order?
I love an affogato, which
Oh, nice.
yeah, there's a place near us that serves imported gelato and makes affogatos with imported gelato and imported espresso beans. So that's what I go for.
And for those of you who don't know what affogato is, it's a simple shot of espresso over ice cream or gelato. Yeah, so it is very delicious, I'll say. I had quite a few with a nice. There's a Scottish brand called Mackey's, a very nice ice cream. And if you put, some lovely espresso beans over it, oh yeah, it's a dessert. It's a very nice like treat.
Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's not like I'm gonna wake up and have my daily
No,
affogato.
no, 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 no. That's no. I mean, you could, but no. Yeah,
Yeah, in this economy.
exactly.
Yeah, gelato is I guess kind of rare to find. We have a few places around here. We have a strong Italian
Hmm.
American presence. Um, but gelato is somewhat hard to find. But yeah, no, this place is just chef's kiss.
Nice, nice. Money or free time?
Free time.
Okay. Okay, that was
I
very
am.
quick.
Oh yeah, no, 1000% free time. I have had to take unpaid time off work. I'd
Hmm.
do it again.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not. I've been very lucky to be solidly middle class.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and I saw someone describe it as having all of your needs met, but not all your wants. But yeah, I would take free time.
Well, I think that's the actual definition, and that's the people are that they are disappearing, isn't it? Like, there's
Yep.
less and less actual middle class, and it seems
Yep.
like even in the UK, it seems like you're doing very well or you're struggling, and there's
Yeah.
only like the middle class that's supposed to be the biggest class, hence the middle.
Hmm.
It seems to be kind of disappearing. So it's like,
Yep.
yeah,
Sad but true.
yep. Where this is gonna lead in 20 years' time, I don't know, but it'll be fun.
We'll have to see, I guess.
Unless we both die, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
Yeah,
have a good life.
exactly.
Not ready to go, but
Me neither, but
um,
who is? Like, who is ready to go?
true. My grandma was. My grandma was like,
Who
I don't want
did?
to say begging for death, but she was just like, God can take me anytime.
I didn't mean to go there. Okay, I
Oh,
do.
it's fine. No, my grandma. I volunteered with a hospice when I was younger too, so I'm just and my mom's a nurse, so I've been around like sick and
So you're like
dying.
very, not, I don't want to say comfortable, but like, I guess, like
Mhm.
comfortable
Yeah,
around
not
like death.
mhm. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it is what it is, I guess. I think coming from like my grandparents were, my grandpa was a farmer
Mm-hmm.
and he had a lot of jobs. He was a chemical engineer at DuPont, which I know is infamous now for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
reasons. But I think it's losing my dad early. It was just always a fact of life for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't love it. I don't love when people die, but I'm
Yeah.
okay
No.
talking about it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's gonna
Well,
happen.
I was gonna say that's the only certainty, isn't it? Death and taxes. And
Yeah, yeah. I know.
realistically.
I grew up in a small town,
Mm-hmm.
by Jersey standards, and I hung out with an old Italian guy behind us, and that's what he always said. He said, "It's
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty in life is death and taxes." And I'm like, cool. Love that, Mr. Curtier. Thanks. I'm only like 6, but I'll get it someday. Yeah.
Honesty or other people's feelings.
Depends on the situation.
Diplomatic.
So I am a big fan of honesty. However, my aunt currently has dementia,
Mm,
And when she asked to go home, my mom struggled with this a lot too. I try to be very pragmatic about it. She's going to forget about this conversation in a minute, so it could be her feelings. Yeah, we'll talk about going home, even though I know she probably won't.
mhm, mhm.
Again, that depends. I mean, long term, honesty is probably the best policy. They're probably going to find out at some point, but it depends
Yeah.
on the situation. You gotta look at the whole scenario.
Mhm.
Is this going to have a profound effect on them long term, or is it? Would it be kinder to just tell them that?
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. Like
Yeah.
again, like you're such a diplomat. I do like
Oh,
that.
thank you.
It's just
I try.
summer
It's
or
true. I mean,
winter. Oh, sorry.
oh no, it's okay. Both have their merits. Probably more winter. You know, I was born in January, so I do like winter. I miss the snow. I was really excited last year. We actually got some substantial snow.
That was
Snow
my
days.
question. So if it's winter, do you actually enjoy snow?
I do. I love the
Okay.
snow.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you're like Lorelai Gilmore and you can you smell the snow?
Yeah, it's a what do they call that? Petrichor? Something like that. There's a word for like the moisture in the air that you can smell. I do. I love how quiet it is in the snow too. Like it's just very
Hmm.
quiet and pensive. And I think it was Robert Frost. There's a poem about how winter's the only time you can see the forms that prop up trees. So I like that too because you can see it's neat. And I learned to forage over COVID as well. And winter is a time where there's not a lot to forage, but you can really appreciate how everything needs a reset and like learning that trees, if they don't lose all their leaves and cycle through that, some trees die. Like they need that time to go back in. So
Yeah, yeah.
I do love winter. Summer's fun too, though. I mean, summer has the fun birds and the stuff that I can go out and pick and eat.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
Shane's mildly horrified because I do. But both have their merits.
Hmm.
I like winter though.
Fair.
I
Probably
overheat easy.
probably the most important question of all:
Mm.
ninjas or pirates?
Oh boy. Um, both dishonorable in their own right.
Hmm.
But depends. I mean, I was more into pirates than I was ninjas. But you know, I like pirates had like I was learning about how they had like domestic partnerships. Basically,
Hmm.
we love that. Where you could leave your pirate gold to somebody, and it could be your authentic partner on the book. Why not?
Okay.
Um,
Didn't even know that.
cool. Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of interesting pirate lore too, and like privateers, if you want to count those, and how the crown was basically like, "Hey, can you stop pillaging our ships and just pillage Spanish ships instead? Here's your writ." But yeah, both are really interesting. Depends on my mood. Depends on where my hyperfixation is at the time.
Okay. Okay. And the last question: free will or destiny?
I am more on the side of free will than destiny.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I know Shane is solidly free will. But my whole thing with Destiny is you probably wouldn't know if it was.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I like to think I have control and I have OCD, so probably free will. We
So
love
you
control.
also like kind of like a more of free will, but kind of like maybe not skewed, but maybe there's some sort of destiny, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
I feel like there's no way of us knowing if there is,
And
really.
it's kind of like religion, isn't it? Like, you
Yeah.
can believe in a god or whatever you want to believe in, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, nobody really knows yeah, until you die. And even then, if you're wrong, you never know.
Yeah.
And if you're right,
Yeah.
you might.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of why I fall into the agnostic category for stuff like
Hmm.
that. I
Hmm.
think whatever's significant to you, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, whatever, man. Just do
Yeah,
whatever makes you happy and doesn't hurt other people.
sound. That's, as kids nowadays would say, based.
Yeah, I try. I am permanently online, so I think that probably
Hmm.
influences.
And is there any hot takes you're willing to share with us before we move to the flex part of the podcast?
Sure. So we were talking earlier about like the whole boy mom thing. I just
Hmm.
see a lot of like, I don't know, and it's really not the hottest take because I feel like at least most of my friends are
Hmm.
not like strongly boy moms, but I think it's weird when people are like, "This is my son. I'm his first love," and like comparing themselves to like your son's future spouse. So it just gives me the ick.
That
That's
is a
all.
bit like Oedipussy, like like there's a bit like
Yeah.
some sort of like Oedipian complex, and just even though it's usually isn't it Oedipus complex from the son perspective, from the son to mom. Am I totally wrong?
Yes. Yeah. That's the Freudian concept of
So that's like a reverse Oedipus
you want to kill your
complex.
father and sleep with your mother. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
see. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen like some like tweets and posts about that, and I also am like, how did that came about? Has it always been a thing?
I guess I mean, one of the theories I saw is that it's like, we value sons more highly than daughters. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Or like your son is your progenitor. He's the one that will carry on your family legacy. He's the
Hmm.
most important one, whatever, whatever. But I don't know. It probably comes from daddy issues. I don't know.
Hmm. So you were very against that.
Yeah, and I know too, I hear a lot, like I heard some random woman say the other day, like, oh, daughters and mothers never get along. So I think there's that like competitive thing. Like you don't have to compete with your son if you're a mom, but you have to compete with your daughter, which I don't love that either. Like why? Why do we have to compete with anybody? I'm
I
not
was
very
gonna
competitive.
say, like, why would you compete with your mom?
I don't know. I think, because as you age as a woman, if you get into feminist theory, as you age as a woman, you become less valuable
Hmm.
because you're less attractive, blah, 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 all that. But I don't, again, my mom never competed with me. So, mm, but
Sounds
it's,
healthy. Sounds very nice,
yeah, it's
actually.
great. Definitely should compete with your child instead of going to therapy. It's fine, but it's
Yeah,
weird.
like like yeah, I don't think it's a necessarily like a hot, opinion or like anything like that because like I don't know whether it's like, many people would actually be for it. I feel like most people are
Yeah,
kind of like in our camp where like they see something like that and I'm like, ooh, the
yeah,
fuck?
yikes.
Should I
Yeah.
be concerned? Like, is something happening that shouldn't be happening?
Yeah, and I watched like the other thing is I watched the whole I love I'm a Gemini. I love Fundy Fridays. I know we talked about it a little bit, but she was
Hmm.
talking about like purity culture and like guarding your daughter's virginity and all that. And I guess it's easy for me to be against that because my dad died when I was young.
Hmm.
But it all just weirds me out. Like I don't know, be caring that much about your child's sex life is not something that I understand.
I feel like that's something that's almost nowadays, and I could be talking complete bullshit, okay? So please feel free to challenge me. But I feel like that's mostly nowadays like 99% American stuff only.
Yeah, it's very traditional religious. Yeah, no, I know it's not heartens me to hear it's not that common. Um, but again, I
No.
think because I seek this out, I see it
Mm.
more, and I just see it. I'm like, oh, yikes, buddy.
I like how you're seeking out the drama, like, it's like, oh, I don't like
I
it.
don't have
Let me
enough.
see more of it.
I know I don't have enough in my own life. I gotta like find it, and that's what I say to Shane. Shane says the same thing. He's like, "Do you really need to?" I'm like, "No, I don't need to do any of this, but like, it's more neutral to me that I'm not involved. Like, I can be more detached from it rather than stuff in
Yeah,
my own
yeah.
life." So
That-
that's probably it.
yeah, that's uh, I again hard agree with you there that it is a bit bizarre. And by a bit I mean a lot. It's just
Yeah,
it
I
is.
don't.
Is there anything else before we move to the Flex part of the podcast?
I'm pretty mild with stuff like that.
Fair.
Oh, yeah.
No? All right. In that with that, we can move to the Flex part of the podcast where I'll ask you, Jess, what is the last new movie you would rate it 5 out of 5? And
I'm
for
gonna get
purpose of this podcast, anything 2020s.
all right. So I saw Ghostlight. I really loved Ghostlight. I thought it was a beautiful film.
Hmm.
Um, so it would be Ghostlight. We saw it in theaters, which is very exciting. I was talking to Shane, like the way that I think of rating like 5 out of 5 is that
Hmm.
it's as objective as it can be, an objectively good movie. Because I love uh we'll get into this later, but I love schlock. So there's
Okay.
stuff that I like that I would not rate a 5 out of 5. So
Go. So it's Ghost
Ghostlight.
Light.
Yes, it was a beautiful film. It deals with loss. It deals with
Oh.
processing thing, intergenerational trauma. It ticks all my boxes. I love that stuff. I love the deep morbid stuff.
I had to look. I'm looking up now because I never even heard of it. And yeah,
It's great.
okay. That definitely goes on my watch list because I never heard of it, which it's quite rare for me
It's
because I usually hear of many movies, even though I haven't seen them. Okay, okay.
yeah, I
Thank
loved it.
you. Thank you
I
for the
don't want to spoil
recommendation.
anything, but yeah.
No, please. No, all right. So, what is the last teen movie, quote unquote, you rated 5 out of 5? Anything between 2003 and 2019?
Yeah, I did enlist Shane's help for this because he keeps a movie log, and basically I
Mhm.
don't watch movies without him. But we recently rewatched There Will Be Blood, so it was There Will Be Blood.
Oh,
5 out of 5, which I feel like it's been talked about to death, but still, it's a great film.
That's a
Brutal.
very solid pick. That's just it's one of those like, it feels like it's one of those like cinephile movies where it's
Yeah.
like, but also I feel like I've appreciated even before I knew I'm
Mhm.
gonna be a cinephile.
I
Like,
think it's an objectively great film. I mean, there's some that are acclaimed for a reason.
and it is, I'll say this, it is a what, 2.5 hours, so like even with
Yeah.
over that, and it doesn't really feel like that. And Daniel Day-Lewis, that performance, especially towards the end at that bowling ball alley,
Yeah.
that's like it. There's a reason why people always parody that one scene with I'm sipping your milkshake.
I drink your milkshake. Yeah,
I'm
Shane
just
loves doing his impression of that.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just, oh, it's a shame he retired. Like good for him. Like honestly,
Yeah,
if he wants to
I know.
retire, let the dude retire. Let him do whatever he wants to do. But
Mhm.
it's like Daniel Day-Lewis at his peak. It's very hard to beat, I'll say.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that it takes a lot out of him too. Like I get it, you know.
Especially him
Nick
being like
Cage that
method,
takes
you
whatever.
know.
Yeah, like Nick Cage takes whatever, and he's got quite a variety of quality of performance. And DDL who only does so many, but is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
I
As,
imagine it takes a lot of you.
yeah, no, and especially again, like he is notoriously method actor, so
Yeah,
I cannot even imagine. Like he even said during his Oscar speech for Lincoln, and he's like, "I need to thank my wife for living with this strange character for like the last 3 months or something."
that's love.
I'm like, does he actually do that? Like I'm like, does he actually come home and he still is a Lincoln when he played Lincoln, or like this guy when he played? Does he? I'm like, that must be kind of
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, that's what I mean. Jeez, I love him for
Hmm.
sticking
No,
through that.
that's a great pick. Yeah. What is the last adult movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything between 2002 and 1975.
I can't have Shane help me with this. Rocky. We rewatched Rocky. I love
Ah,
Rocky. It's a solidly Italian American film, and it's great. I mean, we live near Philly. We live 10 minutes from Philly as the crow flies, and
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I love it. Rocky's a great himbo. Played well by Sylvester Stallone pre plastic surgery.
Hmm.
I love it. I think it's a great underdog tale, and it's the underdog tale to me, if you ask me to name one.
I
So
think that's one of
we're
the
lucky.
ultimate underdog tales. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's no
So
100%. Have you visited those famous stairs in
I,
Philadelphia?
I've been to the art museum a few times. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, they moved the statue. I don't know if you heard they moved the statue and people like rioted.
Somebody mentioned that, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure on this podcast, somebody mentioned that they had to move it, or
Yeah.
I don't know if had to, but they moved it downstairs, and people were not keen on that. But
Yeah, they
apparently,
moved
it's now
it. I
down.
think they said something like it's not like fitting with the museum's vision or something, but yeah, whatever.
Is
Philadelphia is
there
a picky
is
city.
yeah? Is there a video of you like running down up those stairs just to a
No,
rocky music?
I have asthma, so I'd
Ah,
probably die. You'd see me riding on the steps. Yeah,
fair.
but I have been there.
No, fair, fair. Okay. And what is the last old movie you would rate a 5 out of 5? So anything 74 and older.
We saw the Woman in the Window. I enjoyed a lot,
Woman
which
in the
is a really
Window.
great noir. It's old.
Okay.
Um,
I don't think
Great
I heard
noir.
about that. Okay, I love
Mhm.
noir. Woman in the
It's a
Window. Okay.
very it's a very stereotypical noir, but it's so good.
Like noir is one of those genres that have like a lot of blind spots. I've only seen a couple,
Mm.
so I definitely like I need to watch more of noir movies. And I would
Yeah,
imagine because of Shane, you would see even like many older movies like that. So
yeah.
okay, that's
I love them though. I
Mhm.
love the older movies because like we watched The Blob recently, and I was like, wow, they talked about global warming. I think in this, I think that's what they're lampshading here. Like, and that's what they're referencing
Hmm.
with the
Hmm.
whole like, as long as the ice caps stay frozen. I was like, did they know?
Well,
But I do.
yeah.
I love it. I know.
Well, funny you mentioned that because my next question to you is, what is your favorite movie decade?
My favorite movie decade. I I don't know if I could pick one. I do like the early 2000s. I think I'm biased because I grew up at that time.
Yeah.
But I think that there's merits to every era.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with like what do they call it? The what? So the 2000 to
Yeah,
like 2010.
2000. Yeah, like early 2000s. Lot of great movies. Like that. Yeah, like you have the entirety of like Lord of the Rings. You
Yeah,
have the
yep.
Star Wars prequels, which some people hate it, some people love it. And then you have a bunch of like There Will Be Blood. No No Country for Old Men. All those like
Yep.
banger after
Oh,
banger after banger. Like Dark
mhm,
Knight, MCU started.
mhm.
So like a lot of great movies.
And some very solid comedies as well. I mean, Burn After Reading came out. I do like the Coens, so like,
That's a great. I feel like many people like underappreciated it when it came out. I remember watching it and I loved it. It was unexpectedly funny, mainly for
yeah,
Brad Pitt and his performance in that movie.
yep.
Like manic Brad Pitt. If I'm not mistaken, was he gay in that movie? Was his character kind of like
Remember,
because I remember like
he was definitely a hyper dude. There's a lot going on there, but he
because
was
I
also kind
remember
of a
there was a
dumbass.
scene like where he's like like he gets like somebody's number and he turns around like I got his number, I got his. No, I still remember that in my
Oh no, that's because it's he's getting John Malkovich's character's number, I think,
ah
because he's trying to do the blackmail or whatever it is. He's like, I have
oh
your
okay
yeah, that's what that was.
okay maybe it's just
Yeah,
being flamboyant then. Okay, fair enough.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, talk about like something unexpected that happens to his character because that is
yeah.
also remember like
Even if you know it's coming, you still don't see it coming.
yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
coins like they
Shocking.
just do it and it's like oh okay that happened.
Yeah, yeah, but I like that era. I think it has a lot to offer.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I
So,
love.
do you have any hot movie takes? Oh yeah, hot movie takes rather than just like general movie, hot takes.
Yeah, I was talking this over with Shane. I mean, it's not very hot, but like, I am one of those people who's tired of comic book movies a little bit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
have their merit. We were so saturated with them. And I was like, ah, Shane, I don't think this is a really hot take because there hasn't been so many. And he goes, wait for 2025 and it's going to be endless. I'm like, oh. But I also don't think a movie's bad just because it's a comic book movie.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is what it is. It depends on who's directing it, who's writing it.
Mm-hmm.
It might be based on, not everyone is Madam Web, which is absolute trash. I
Madam.
was
Oh
so
yeah.
mad at Shane. He dozed off a little during that. I was like, I was so fucking jealous. I woke him up out of spite. I was like, if I have to watch this, so do you. Wake up. It was so bad, but I am a little tired of that. But I don't know. Again, I it's hard for me because I think I am a natural diplomat, where I just kind of
Mm.
to each their own.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what it was. I love schlock. Shane
Okay.
does not love schlock. He does not love like The Room and stuff like that. He does not
Uh
love
I was
Vampire.
gonna
I
ask,
love
what's your definition of
Vampire's Kiss.
schlock? So we're
Vampire's
like,
Kiss. Love
oh.
that. It's so stupid and I love it every minute. Or like those bad Nick Cage movies like Willy's Wonderland. Terrible
Mm-hmm.
movie.
See, I've
Hilarious.
only seen Vampire's Kiss like last year after hearing about it for the longest time, and I'm like, okay, that was it.
Yeah,
And
it's bad.
I'm just like, it is bad, but I'm
I love
like,
it.
see, that's the thing. Many people love it like you because it's bad,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but it's very bad, and it's just like I
Yeah.
don't understand it. And I wish I could be in your camp, like I genuinely because I love some dumb movies. Don't get me wrong, trust me.
Yeah.
But like I don't like I with Vampire Kiss specifically. What is it that makes that movie enjoyable for you? Is it just Nick Cage, or is it like
Yeah. I mean,
some
it's the fact that he's just unhinged. The director seems like he let him do whatever. Like the whole him crying, like
or the ABCD, like the alphabet
the
scene?
guy, the psychiatrist, and she's just like begging for help with her eyes, or even the poor woman he's harassing at work. Like I do feel bad for her, but I think it's the fact that it's very like avant-garde, like the art movement. Like I get that too. Like I get that it's you're pushing the boundaries
Hmm.
of what's considered film, even if that's not what you intended to do and it's just a bad movie. It makes me laugh. Like it's just so stupid. I
Yeah.
love it. I'm
No,
not
that.
gonna contend that it's a good movie. It's not,
Hmm.
but it is fun.
Hmm. And so you're one of those people who can also enjoy The Room.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Yep.
Have
Or
you
like we
ever
watched.
seen it on like during one of those like midnight screenings?
Yeah, my friend and I went and they were really anti spoon throwing.
Yeah,
But that
yeah,
was the
yeah.
first time I saw it. I saw it in a theater with a bunch of other people and I was like, haha, I get it. It's just so stupid. It's like watching an alien try to write a script about what it's like to be human. Like
Did
M. Night Shyamalan dialogue. It's so bad. It's good.
M Night definitely like? Oh yeah, see, there was a tweet. I don't know if you've seen it. There was a tweet about how somebody took a screenshot of this review from Letterboxd, and I was like, after this movie, I wonder if M Night has ever talked to
Yeah,
a living human being. And
yeah,
somebody
that's exactly.
but somebody took it, and I was like, and it kind of implied that this person is being racist, and I'm like, holy shit, how did we
Oh,
get there? Because like
yeah,
the
yeah.
tweet,
No, I could see that because
like
would they say the same thing about a white writer?
well,
That's the
because
question.
like somebody was because the somebody who wrote that tweet was like, oh, I wonder why people are not shitting on like David Lynch or this director, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
David Lynch's dialogue's kind of weird too.
I was like, but people shit on it a lot. As a David Lynch super fan who always will defend him, or most of the time will defend him. Like people, there are some people who genuinely don't like him. So I don't see the race thing. Like okay, but I'm
Mhm.
like, but Shyamalan. But it's the same kind of point. Shyamalan and Lynch, their dialogue, the dialogues they create are specifically to their world, to their movie.
Yeah,
You
that's what I
know,
was gonna say. Is it fits the like Lynchian thing or
yes,
the M. Night
and
Shyamalan thing?
or like you have you seen Trap yet?
No, not
Oh,
yet.
that's a good
I heard
movie.
it's kind of silly. I heard it's funny.
I have the same complaint as many. Basically, the first two thirds are great, and you're like, oh, how he's gonna do it, what he's gonna do, what he's gonna do now. And then the last third, he kind of becomes a ninja,
Hmm.
where I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, there's no way without giving anything away, there's no way this is possible. There's no way, and it like breaks you in a way where it's like,
yeah,
okay, like even the movie sometimes cuts, and they're like, oh yeah, they have to cut because there's no way he could have done this otherwise.
yeah, yeah. They suspend your disbelief too much. It breaks your
Yes.
immersion or whatever they say. Yeah, I'm fine with stuff like George Lucas. I know people complain about the dialogue too. Yeah, I
Oh,
get it, but whatever.
again,
It's fun. I don't
again,
care.
it's as a prequel defender because I grew up watching them. I grew up. That was my Star Wars. I now can appreciate that they're flawed, but
Yeah,
the overarching like narrative was actually, and everything George created was great.
yeah,
He just should have been the bigger person to admit, okay, I kind of my dialogue is not the greatest. Let me
yeah.
invite a screenwriter that could actually write a proper like lines.
Yep. Know your weakness.
Just yeah, like play to your strengths, man. Like
Yep.
that was the only thing. Yeah. Any
Yep.
other so besides the comic book movies, anything else?
No, that's about it. Just again the schlock thing, but
Fair,
you know,
fair.
it just comes down to people like what they like.
Yeah. Did you, by the way, before we move any forward, did you enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine, or was that even?
I did. I thought it was fun. I mean, I wasn't expecting Casablanca, and it
Yeah,
wasn't Casablanca, and I was like, it's gonna be a stupid fun time, and I did. Had fun with it.
I definitely was stupid fun time. I liked it too. Yeah. So with that, I think we can move to the underrated part of this podcast, where I'll ask you, Jess, who do you think is the most underrated actor we have right now?
I am biased because I love him, but I was talking so Shane. I love Brendan Gleeson, and I feel like I never hear anyone talk about what great an actor he is. But I really enjoy him. I love him in Bruges. I love him in Paddington 2. I loved him in Banshees of Inisherin. I just think he's a great actor. And she suggested or not Will Ferrell, Colin Farrell too.
Yeah.
And I do really like Colin Farrell, but I think he's starting to get more
hmm
attention for stuff. So I'm gonna go with Brendan Gleeson. I just love him. He just seems like he'd be a nice guy.
No, Brandon, like, and again, he's from, if I'm not mistaken, he is actually Irish. Like,
Yeah,
and he seems like, yeah, like he is sneaky great, and he's been sneaky great for at least a decade. Like,
yeah.
yeah, he's like, yeah, Banshees. That's talk about a movie that had such a tough time at Oscars, like, because of
Mhm,
what was happening at the time, and like how great that movie year was.
mhm.
Any other year, Banshees would have pretty much slayed the Oscars because, like,
Yeah,
All In, Wesley Brandon,
yep,
the script, like a lot of categories would have any other year would have probably like slayed, but this year
yeah.
just that year was just so packed, and
I know.
but such a that was a movie
It was beautiful. Yeah, I loved it.
and Brandon was just yeah, it was heartbreaking, and I I love the friendship they seem to have, him and Colin Farrell, and I kind of like
Mhm.
would like to see if they do like another movie together, especially
Have you seen
directed by Martin McDonagh.
Have you seen In Bruges?
Yeah, of course. Oh,
Okay.
I've just rewatched it like a month, 2 months ago with my, and I introduced it to my girlfriend, and she also loved it.
Yeah, I love it too. But they have a great chemistry together, so I'm not surprised they went with
Yes.
somebody else.
Some of
Yeah,
the jokes definitely are a bit too out there nowadays
yeah,
for today's
yeah,
sensibility. But hey, we are all adults here, so like we can acknowledge certain things and we can move on.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's old now. It's like 20 years old.
Yes, it is. Like so much has changed. It's yeah.
Mhm.
So who do you think is the most underrated actress we have right now?
I am gonna go with Kristen Stewart only because I keep seeing Reddit threads about how bad she is as an actress. And I'm like, have you seen anything other than Twilight?
Yep.
Excuse me, but I like her, and I know she's got that like she's got that thing a lot. But especially in Love Lies Bleeding, she's great.
I still haven't
Um,
seen that, but I heard good
I
things.
loved it. And in what was it, Diana Spencer? She's the
Spencer,
best.
yeah.
But I think again, it's not her fault she got started with Twilight. I guess. I guess it is and it isn't. But I like
Hmm.
her a lot.
No, like I've always said this past certain point. Like if you hate Robert Pattinson or Kristen Stewart because of Twilight, you
Yeah,
haven't been paying attention since like 2012.
yeah, and I feel
Like
like Robert Pattinson gets more I mean, he's got more roles, I think. But yeah, no, I think that Kristen Stewart's a little underrated. But Robert Pattinson, people are coming around to him. We love that.
yeah, and I think many people are starting to come around, Kristen as well. I think it's just
Yeah,
like she is like naturally shy, and I think also
yeah,
on some sort of maybe spectrum because she kind of come across like, a bit socially awkward at times, and I think people
yeah,
like to misread that as like, oh,
yeah,
she's being so rude, and I'm like, is she? Like,
yeah.
give her a break. Like,
Right. Not everyone wants to do all the press junkets and everything.
yeah, especially you get asked, one single question like, 50 different times one day
Oh
and need
no,
to pretend, oh, this is the first time I heard this question. So original.
what a nightmare. Yeah, I could not.
Imagine, like, yeah.
No, thank you. Not for me.
So who do you think is the most underrated director we have right now?
So, I had to ask Shane about this one because I looked it up. Tom Moore. I really like the cartoons and stuff. I think that they're beautiful films. They're beautifully animated, and I think that they're just great. So I'm gonna go with Tom Moore.
One
And
more. Remind me, what did he do?
I think he did. Shane's lying to me. Song of the Sea,
Ah, okay.
Secret of Kells, that grouping, Wolfwalkers. Yeah, I just think they're
Oh,
beautiful films.
that's why I've only seen Wolfwalkers. I loved, by the way. That movie
Yeah,
is spectacular.
they're beautiful.
That's my blind spot. Okay, that's why I don't recognize the name. That's definitely one of my blind spots. I've only seen
Yeah,
Wolfwalkers, but ever since I'm like, okay, I need to see more of that. And
yeah,
again,
yeah.
Ireland,
They're beautiful. Hmm.
another Irish connection. I see.
Yeah,
I'm sensing a theme there.
I do. It's a beautiful country, and I just love similar to Miyazaki capturing like the Japanese countryside. I think that they capture,
Hmm.
the wilderness of Ireland, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's
No,
beautiful.
only thing again, like I only seen Wolfwalkers, but 100% agree. Like that Irish culture, I didn't even know,
Mhm,
many things about, and that movie puts it, on display beautifully, and it's such a
hmm
unique style of animation we've never
hmm
seen, or I have never seen. Like, it's
They're
different
all
from,
like that.
yeah, exactly. It's different from Pixar, it's different from Disney, it's different from even Miyazaki, like from the like anime style. And it's nowadays that's so hard to do to be like different enough where people are like, oh, this is new.
And it's 2D, which you don't see a lot anymore.
That's the other thing. It's just like 2D is if done well, and to be fair, if
Hmm
like nowadays if done even like it's
Oh,
spectacular. It's
oh
just
yeah,
so beautiful.
I
Okay.
agree. I love Tom
I
Moore.
know the next one is can be a bit hard because there are so many movies, but do you have one or two you would consider like underrated and people wouldn't need to know about them?
Well, I'm biased because it's my favorite movie, but True Grit from 2010. We were talking about tough years. I think
Yep.
No Country for Old Men came out, and There Will Be Blood came out, and I hear people talk about True Grit, but mostly older white dudes. Um, but I think that it's a great film and it has its merits, and I think
Hmm.
it deserves a little attention. If it hadn't come out in 2010, it probably would have gotten more.
And
But
introduced us to Haley Stanfield. That's
Yes, and she's great in it.
oh no, she like
She's
that's how I was like, oh, this girl, I think she'll become somebody. And she's still kicking around. She's part of
yeah,
MCU, so obviously she's done well for herself. No, yeah, true.
yeah.
And Jeff Bridges, have you seen the original with John Wayne?
I don't like it as much. I'm not a
Me
big John
neither.
Wayne fan. Yeah, no, he's John Wayne in it. He's not Rooster Cogburn, but I'm biased because Jeff Bridges is my favorite actor. So
The dude.
he's a swaggering, drunken mess like that, and that's how Rooster Cogburn is in the books. So I love
Did
the
you
book as well.
did you see him being in a Zoom chat for Kamala? It's like there was like a Zoom
No,
call, the dudes for Kamala, and
I love that.
and there were like 100 or 50,000, 100,000 men at the same time, right? And
No,
somebody he took the spot and was like, well, as one famous dude, I'm definitely for Kamala, and it was just like, that's Jeff fucking Bridges. I'm like,
yeah,
that's cool.
I like Jeff Bridges a lot. I found out that his grandkids call him dude. Like they don't call him grandpa or papa or whatever. It's dude. I love that. But I do love Jeff Bridges. He just seems like a sweet man.
Oh yeah.
But I love him as Rooster Cogburn too, because again, he's a swaggering drunken idiot. Like he's falling over himself. But I do love True Grit.
And I loved how he finally got his Oscar for Crazy Heart.
Yeah,
Like I was so happy. I was rooting for him, and I was so happy because that year, like when it came out, I felt like many people kind of dismissed it, and I'm like, that's a great movie, though. It's such a nice little movie, and
yeah.
it's
We saw him in Starman. Even he's great in Starman. I mean, it
mhm,
seems like an alien. Sure, why not?
exactly. It's again, but it's the dude. Like he is so good. Like yeah,
Mhm.
fair.
Love him.
And what about some underrated TV shows you would like to shout out?
I'm gonna give a shout out because I'm so mad it got canceled to the Big Door Prize.
Mm,
I am so upset it got canceled. Like I rarely have that visceral reaction. But it is a high concept, beautiful TV show that it's complex. It really gets into the characters. I love it. I don't know why it was canceled. I guess ratings, but bring it back, Apple. Please.
what was the name?
The Big Door Prize.
It's an Apple show.
Yeah.
See, that's why I've never even heard of it. Big Door.
Yeah, and maybe that's why, but I just think it's a beautiful show. I mean, it's complex and but it's
Mhm.
also realistic. Well, sci-fi twist, but
Yeah.
I love those shows that get deep into the humanity of it.
It's so weird because like I some comedian made this joke and I 100% agree with that. It's like Apple TV is where great shows go to hide.
I
And I'm like
know.
because I've heard so many people or from few people who have Apple subscription that their especially TV shows are like banger after banger after banger after
Yeah.
banger.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's but not many people talk about them, or there's only certain group of people who talk about them. And
I
then, like,
know.
they usually kind of like you said, like, there's a TV show I've never even heard of and it's already canceled.
Yeah, I
And
know. It's sad.
yeah, and I'm like, if it was on Netflix or like even like a Disney Plus or like Hulu or whatever in America, I feel like that would get a much bigger audience. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know. Like, I think we do have maybe one too many streaming services.
Oh yeah, 1000% true.
Just
That
because,
that
yeah.
makes me so sad.
Okay,
But if
so
you can watch it, I'd recommend.
what was the show about? Just give me like a brief synopsis because I genuinely have not never heard of it.
Yeah, so it basically is about a small town and this mysterious machine, morpho machine pops up and the shtick with it is you sit in the machine and it analyzes your potential and gives you like one word. That's the first season. That's basically it. So
Ooh.
this whole small town is yeah, they all get it and it's about like we were talking about free will or destiny.
Mm-hmm.
um what is potential? Somebody gets like motorcycle or artist or whistler or liar. Like what do these things mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I'm trying to figure it out.
I think like plan for maybe next year. I already talked to my girlfriend about it. We need to get an Apple subscription and like for
Yeah,
at least couple months and try to binge on many things as possible because like there's so many. Like I know Severance supposed to be great. Ted Lasso,
oh yeah.
obviously Ted Lasso. Have you seen Severance?
No, I've heard it's great though.
But yeah, like, and now the second season that's about to come out in January, I believe it's one of the most expensive TV shows ever to be ever made because apparently they have a budget like 20 million an episode. which
Oh
is
wow, okay.
again,
Okay.
it's Apple. They have money to burn, but also I know the concept behind the show, and I'm like, well, it's basically in one office. So
Yeah.
are they spending 20 million on snacks or something? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Outfits maybe, isn't it like white collar? Maybe the
I don't
suits.
know. I
Mm,
feel like there will be probably more to the second season than the first season, but again, I need to binge on first to even see the second one. But I'm very intrigued because Apple, like the movies, they're trying to win the Oscars, all the
yeah.
Oscars
They're swinging for the
after Coda.
fences. Yeah.
They definitely got the appetite, but the TV shows seems to be like Silo supposed to be another excellent one.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
no.
That's really the only one I've seen in recent times, but I do love it. And the Snoopy stuff. I watch the Peanuts stuff.
Hmm. Silo has Rebecca Ferguson in it, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, okay.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant you watched Silo recently. Oh, sorry, I misheard.
Oh no. It's another one that like I probably should see, but I haven't. Because I'm
Mm.
stuck watching YouTube videos about I don't know, obscure cryptids instead of watching TV.
That's
But
fair.
yeah.
So, Jess, it's been a blast. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for agreeing to be here. And I've been asking you a bunch of questions, and you've been gracious enough to answer all of them. So, do appreciate it. So, before I let you go, let's flip the tables. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, I think you've been engaging the whole
Oh,
time. You've been asking, whenever we have a question, you've been answering as well. So I don't know that I have any questions for you, but it has been very fun. Thank you.
no, that's all I strive for. As long as you didn't suffer through it, that's all I can ask for, really.
No,
So,
you're good. I think you're a good interviewer.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's just my side. Like that's just my not even a hobby. I just like to talk to people. Really.
Same. I get it.
Do you have any social media where if somebody was to follow you, is there any place?
Um, no, not really. My Instagram's private, but Shane does frequently post, like if we're doing something together. Shane frequently posts, so I guess you can follow me on his.
Yeah,
But I don't have public stuff. I'm kind of reclusive that way. I can be, even though I'm very outgoing, I can be a little hard to befriend. A
I
little
can.
cat like. If
Yeah,
people
yeah.
come on strong, I kind of retreat.
Fair. No, no, totally get it. No, but I definitely recommend Wasteland Retrospective because every first Wednesday of every month, you and Shane
Oh
talk
yeah,
about two movies, and it's
yeah.
always fun. I like
Thank
the
you.
I like the one time he was like, "Thank you for being here, Jess," and you're like, "Well, I have to be here."
Yeah, he hates when I say that. When I say I'm contractually obligated.
Yeah, and I'm like,
I'm like, it's a joke. People don't think you're like
"Yes."
holding a gun to my head and I'm interviewing.
No,
Like,
but I
don't cry
totally
for help.
got that. I totally got that as a joke, and I'm like, I love
Thank
that
you.
because that's the dry sense of humor I love. It's just like, and your delivery is always great. It's like, well, I have to be here. I'm
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
yes,
Yeah. I try to be nicer since he was like, he's like, yeah, no, I'm not being held hostage. It's
no, of course,
sarcasm.
of course.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
okay.
part of
We'll follow like Shane on all the 1001 places he does have about 1000 podcasts he's working on,
Yep.
releasing 2 videos a day, writing for various websites, like watching movies, being a husband.
Mhm.
I don't really think. See, that's maybe one last question. How does he do it? Does he have a time turner from Harry
He just
Potter?
he doesn't know. He doesn't sleep a lot. He has a very strict schedule, but he's usually doing two things at one time. But the nice thing about that with him that I can't relate to is that he can.
Hmm.
So he'll be doing like writing and watching a movie or listening to a podcast and cooking dinner. Like he's almost always doing things simultaneously and not
Yeah.
sleeping enough. I just kind of sit and like stare at the wall and dissociate. I don't see Shane do that a whole lot. He's very productive. So
Yeah.
we're two sides of, the yin and the yang. He's
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
yin, and I'm very yang in terms of just being lazy and staring into
That's fair.
space, doing nothing.
Hey,
But yeah, that's
sometimes
how he does it.
sometimes that's the best thing you can do. Just like chill, don't do much. Just no,
Yeah, yeah, balances out. I think if
exa-
both of us were very type A, it would be bad.
no, yeah, like there's definitely something about like opposites attract. It doesn't,
Yeah,
because as far as as obvious as it sounds, you don't want to date yourself. right?
No.
And
Mm-mm.
if you do, I do judge you a bit, like like,
Yeah.
maybe a bit too much. Because no, if somebody looks at him in a mirror, I'm like, and is like Kanye West, like, oh damn, I cannot date myself. I love myself so
Yeah.
much. I
I
think you
know.
have a problem.
Yeah, I agree. We agree where it's important. We agree on the, how to raise
Yeah,
kids, how to do, we agree on the important stuff, and it doesn't have to be.
and that's all that matters.
But I agree. We play to each other's strengths, like I was talking about before.
That's also very important thing in
He's the
any
tortoise,
relationship.
right? He's the tortoise, and I'm the hare. I might get an answer quicker. I might get something out quicker, but it might not be as accurate. Like he's good at the thorough, the methodical, and everything, and I'm just like moving
Hmm.
on to the.
No, again, once again, thank you so much for being here. Honestly, I had a blast. And
Yeah, it was
if
fun.
people want to follow me in Movies Lost on Letterboxd, obviously this podcast, if you would like to rate and follow, would be appreciated. Or lostinmovies.co.uk, which is my blog where I try to write as much as I can. As always, this podcast is part of SPDM Crew Podcast Media. Special thanks goes to Highflyer Creative for designing my logo. To see what else they have happening, visit highflyercreative.com. And that's all for this time. So until next time, bye bye.